Someone in the comments section in one of my past videos mentioned Lady Boule. Her name didn't register until I checked out her channel, and I remember her from the time she weighed in on Karmelo Anthony. While her video is a bit old, 4 months, she will still manage to dazzle us with her insights. Not to say that she's going to be judgmental, because if there's one thing Lady Boule can't stand, it's people who are judgmental. Those who jump to conclusions before all the facts are in. So get ready, because it's going to get pretty deep in here. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
And away we go.
And today I want to say something else about the tragic situation that happened in Frisco, Texas. The two young men on the screen, on the left, Karmelo Anthony, and on the right, Austin Metcalf, were involved in a tragic situation in Frisco, Texas, in which the one on the right, Austin Metcalf, lost his life, and the one on the left, Karmelo Anthony, has been charged.
Such dishonest language. She doesn't even have the nerve to tell you that Karmelo was charged with murder. Just charged. And Austin lost his life because he and Karmelo were involved in a tragic situation. Gee, I think the one on the left stabbed the one on the right to death. Now, maybe Karmelo had a good reason for doing so, and is therefore not guilty. He'll have his day in court, but to couch the language to make it sound as if all that happened was Karmelo stole $20 from Austin is a bit much.
I'm going to say up front that I don't know what happened because I wasn't there. But there are a lot of people speaking out about this who also weren't there, and it seems like they're trying to muddy the waters.
Oh, and don't those people just burn you up? Making claims about the guilt of someone when there hasn't even been a trial. That just chaps her ass.
And get a narrative out there in which the one on the left, Karmelo Anthony, is being charged, tried, and convicted without a trial.
No, they're discussing whether they think Karmelo is guilty and whether they think the court will find him guilty. Let's see. Have you done something along those lines yourself?
Trayvon Martin was the one that was one of the most heartbreaking for many Black Americans. A 17-year-old.
You mean like this 17-year-old? Gee, I wonder what you thought about him.
Walking home, bothering nobody. He was stalked and murdered. And then the man claimed he was afraid for his life. Lost his life for nothing. Wasn't even bothering anybody. He was forced into an altercation with a stranger with a gun and ended up losing his life.
But you weren't there. You didn't see any of it. I thought that was your mantra. Oh, wait. George Zimmerman was obviously the guilty one because he was a stranger with a gun. But being a stranger with a knife is somehow better. Worst of all, you make this big deal about reserving judgment until there's a trial. Well, they did have a trial for George Zimmerman, and he was acquitted. And yet you, who wasn't there and didn't see anything, still just claim that Trayvon Martin was the victim. Yet all the while coming down hard on those claiming Karmelo Anthony is guilty of murder. And notice that so far she still doesn't have the nerve to say what Karmelo actually did, and she never will. But Trayvon was stalked and murdered by Zimmerman, who had the audacity to claim self-defense, the very same defense that Karmelo was claiming. Say what you want about Zimmerman, but his claim of self-defense is far stronger than Karmelo's, given what we know. Zimmerman showed injuries. Karmelo didn't. There were no witnesses to contradict Zimmerman's claims, but there are witnesses who contradict Karmelo's. Zimmerman claimed that he was violently assaulted by Trayvon, but all Karmelo said was that he was touched. Yet, don't you even dare think that Karmelo could be guilty. Race hustlers, man, they're just hypocrisy machines.
So there are some questions that I have for those people who want to persecute this young man before he's had his day in court. Karmelo Anthony went to Centennial High School in that city, and Austin Metcalf went to Memorial High School in that city. So they were in the same school district, but at different schools. So here's a question that I have for the students at Centennial High School, the school that Karmelo Anthony went to. What did the students at that school say about him before this incident? The white ones and the black ones.
Why not just leave it at students? Why does it always have to be about race?
What did they say about him before this incident? Also, what did the students at Memorial High School say about Austin Metcalf and his brother, twins, because I think they operated as a unit? What?
Oh, she wasn't there. She doesn't know what happened, but the two brothers acted as a unit. She is just so freaking dishonest.
What did the white kids at Memorial High School say about Austin Metcalf and his brother before this incident? Because that's going to shed some light on the character of these two young men. What did their classmates and schoolmates say about them before this incident? And what are they saying about them now? That's what I would like to know.
Well, some people have asked their classmates, and you probably won't like their responses. Austin comes out looking a lot better than Karmelo, but it doesn't matter. I don't care about what their friends thought of them. And you can't trust the word of a high schooler anyway. I only care about what happened and why.
Another thing that was said was that it was pouring down raining, and he sought shelter under a tent that was marked for Memorial High School. Well, it's the same school district. They're engaged in an intramural sport, two high schools. It's pouring down rain. This is the nearest tent. Why couldn't he seek shelter under that tent? Why was it such a big deal for him to be under that tent when it was pouring down raining?
Because he ran for the opposing team. The pestilence, the rival, the scum. This is high school sports in Texas. Of course they don't want him under their tent. And it was not pouring down rain. Oh, Mrs. I wasn't there. We know it wasn't pouring down rain because the police report mentions that the rain started to become heavy as they were examining the knife that Karmelo ditched in the bleachers. Oh, this next part, cover your ears, Lady Boule, because I'm about to say something that you don't want to hear. After he stabbed Austin,
they're treating the tent just like it's their own personal home. This was a makeshift facility from what I was able to see from television at a school event. And they're treating it like it was a home invasion. He was in the wrong tent. Something is wrong with that.
It's sports rivalry. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand. But beyond that, Austin may have felt that Karmelo entered his own team's tent for nefarious reasons. And perhaps Karmelo was just being a real dick about it. You don't know. You weren't there, remember?
And another thing is, there seemed to have been no supervision. If this was a school event, there should have been some adult supervision. In any classroom management class, when you're doing teacher training, one of the greatest taboos is for children to be trying to discipline other children. That is never acceptable. Who put him in charge of supervision? That is a real no-no in education.
You know what else is a big no-no? You know what else is unacceptable? Stabbing another kid with a knife.
So where was the adult supervision? And I'm still asking the question, why couldn't he seek shelter from the rain under that tent? They were not we're not at war. It's supposed to be a friendly school competition.
They weren't at war. It was supposed to be a friendly school competition. Someone please remind me, who killed whom here?
Why was it so upsetting that he would run under that tent for shelter from the rain? Why would that cause somebody else to want to throw him out You're in the wrong tent. My goodness, a tent. I hear people talk about, he was in the shelter. He was in the wrong shelter. What are you talking about? It's just a school event.
I tell you what, have players from your football team go over to the other side of the field and sit down in the bleachers of the other team and see what happens. It's just a bench. It's a sports rivalry. A player from the other team has entered their facility using their equipment. Remember, the tent is athletic equipment, and he's using it for shelter. And so, yeah, they got a little perturbed over it. That's what boys do. It's only natural.
I mean, I don't think he was planning to stay there for the night. It was just to seek shelter from the rain. Karmelo Anthony had a very bright future ahead of him.
Well, how do you know that? But no matter, that she's going to talk about Austin's bright future before he was stabbed to death here, right?
He had already been offered scholarships to play football on the college level. There would be no reason for him to go into a school event where he was running track. There would be no reason for him to go into a school event of which he was a part. He was a track star. There would not have been any reason for him to go to that school event planning to commit a crime.
So this is a classic straw man argument. I have gone over Texas's law with respect to murder many times in my past videos. The issue is whether A, Karmelo purposely tried to injure Austin by stabbing him, B, whether stabbing Austin would clearly place Austin's life in jeopardy, and C, whether he had a reason to believe that if he didn't, his own life would be in jeopardy. Texas law does not require any form of planning. It doesn't even require intent to kill. It only requires an intent to injure in a way that clearly could kill. Do we all have it straightened out now?
It's just absurd to think that that was what was on his mind. He wasn't just loitering about a random character on the campus. He
Well, how do you know? You weren't there, remember?
was a track star. He was a participant in the event. And why were they holding the event in the rain anyway? And there was something else that came out in the comment section of one of my videos.
Oh, the comment section. Forget the New York Times, the Associated Press. We have Lady Boule's comment section at our disposal. We'll finally get the truth, the reals.
In which somebody said that he did not have the unauthorized weapon that they claim he had. Now, this will have to come out in court, but according to the person in my comment section, he didn't even have that particular weapon. Now, that's going to be interesting.
No, it won't. That will be the least interesting fact that will be discussed during the trial. It was a knife. There's no doubt about it.
That's going to be something that really needs to come out in court. Now, clearly he had something, but it may not have been an unauthorized weapon.
Okay, so this is another straw man argument. Whether or not the knife was authorized by law or the school district has no bearing on Karmelo's guilt. Just because I'm legally allowed to carry a gun doesn't make me innocent if I use it. For the record, the knife was legal to carry on school grounds, but it broke school district rules. Make out of it what you will.
The school system failed both of these young men, and that is where, to me, that is where the real responsibility lies. Because had there been adult supervision under that tent, and that young man from the same school district in a friendly school competition sought shelter under that tent, the adult should have been able to say, oh yeah, okay, come on in. It's raining out here, and let him just seek shelter until it stopped raining. That should have been the response, not to say, you're in the wrong tent. You need to get out of our tent. This is the most ridiculous thing that I have heard, that somebody would take so seriously another person trying to get in out of the rain.
That's the most ridiculous thing you ever heard, huh? Really? What about one kid stabbing another one with a knife? That's less ridiculous?
But for the people who are trying to drive the narrative that all of the fault is on Karmelo Anthony, I say, let's just save all of it for the court. Let it come out in court. Because if you are lying, what that says is you are afraid of the truth, and the truth needs to come out in trial. Liars are the only people that are afraid of the truth, and that is why you have to keep adding on untruths, unproven truths to make your case seem stronger.
Oh, you mean like claiming it was pouring down rain when it wasn't? Like creating two straw man arguments to justify Karmelo's actions?
Because once you tell the truth, you don't have to do that but one time. You don't have to keep adding to it, and you don't have to keep taking from it. This was a tragedy for these two young men and their families. It was a tragedy that can't be undone.
I'm not sure I would consider it a tragedy to Karmelo, since he's the one that stabbed the other one to death. I mean, he's probably regretting what he did, but I'm not certain I would call it a tragedy.
It's done. But what needs to happen now is that the public, we all need to know what actually happened under that tent that day. It would be instructive for the people who are supervising these young people that this is a serious matter. These are two 17-year-old young men that needed to be supervised
Of course it's a serious matter. Who do you think is not taking it seriously?
because they were still operating under the jurisdiction of that school system. The obsession in America's schools now is tests, test scores, tests, tests, tests. What did you make on the test? Did you make AYP?
AYP, average yearly progress? Not many non-teachers would know that. Please don't tell me that she's a school teacher.
You know what? There's not enough emphasis on teaching these young people how to treat each other. And that needs to be a part of the curriculum too. Because we can't go back to slavery days. We're not going back to slavery days. We're not going back to Jim Crow days.
Slavery days? Jim Crow? You really think that there's this chance that we're going to go back to slavery? Really? And we have to prevent that by taking this stabbing seriously. Because if we don't take the stabbing seriously, I mean, you're going to be driving down the highway and on your right, you'll see a plantation with black people enslaved picking cotton. That's what can happen when you don't take these things seriously. I mean, Jim Crow? Gee, I wonder whether she blames the white kid or the black kid for what happened here.
So America needs to make up its mind what kind of society it wants to be. Because at the end of the day, nobody is going to look at this and think that race wasn't involved in some way. Let's just be real about that.
Not only does she blame the white kid, but the white kid was at fault because racism. Racism must have been involved, and we need to make sure we don't go back to the days of slavery and Jim Crow. There's no other way to interpret it other than to claim that Austin provoked Karmelo because Karmelo was black. That's what she's saying. But she wasn't there. She doesn't know what happened. I see no reason to believe that race was involved in the stabbing. Why does it have to be involved? Given that it was Karmelo who stabbed Austin to death, I would think that if race was involved, that it would be on Karmelo Anthony.
And America really needs to make up its mind what its emphasis is going to be on. Because you're dealing with young people, impressionable young people, you're dealing with human beings. And at some point, we have to learn to acknowledge each other's humanity.
Translation.
Austin Metcalf, the white kid, would still be alive if he didn't honor Karmelo Anthony's humanity. Karmelo needs to be acquitted, because if we convict him, well, we'll go back to the Jim Crow days. It'll be like slavery days all over again.
Because if we don't, we're all going to end up perishing under something stupid.
Like your videos. Speaking of liking videos, like my video and subscribe to my channel.